Hello everyone. For now, we will talking about the fisheries resources and fishing grounds. I am Aljaber A. Jamang, a Bachelor of Science in Fisheries, third year. First let's talk about the objectives of this topic. This topic specifically aims to first is to identify the vastness and status of fisheries resources, fishing grounds area, and length of coastlines. Second is to analyze the various issues or concerns affecting the management of fisheries resources. And lastly is to explore the fisheries management scheme for target species that will give economic significance. So let's move on to the definitions. So fisheries resources refers to all aquatic organisms and ecosystems that can be harvested or managed for human benefit. For example, food, livelihood, and other economic purposes. Second is the fishing grounds. It can be defined as specific areas in marine or freshwater environment where fish and other aquatic organisms are abundant. So fisheries resources in simple terms ay kung ano ang lahat ng bagay na napapakinabangan natin sa ating karagatan ay maituturing na fisheries resources. And sa fishing grounds naman, in layman's term, ay ito yung mga area kung saan usually yung ating mga fisherman ay nagkakandak ng mga fishing activities and mga fishing activities. So let's move on to the classification of fisheries resources. Divide ko siya into biological and habitat resources. Sa biological, na-include dito ang fish, mollusks, crustaceans, aquatic plants, and other invertebrates. Under sa fish, we have the finfish, species like tuna, sardines, mackerel, and salmon. Demersal fish, ito yung mga fish na malapit sa seafloor such as the cod and the grouper. And pelagic fish are found in the water column such as the anchovies and tunas. Mollusks naman ay ito yung mga squid, octopus, clams, oysters, and mussels. They are valued for their high protein content. Next is the crustaceans. We have the shrimp, crabs, lobsters, and krill. Ito yung mga high in demand sa mga seafood market. Fourth is the aquatic plants. This includes seaweeds and seagrasses. Ginagamit ang mga seaweeds and seagrasses as food, medicine, biofuel, and also for the habitat of our marine species. Next is the other invertebrates. This includes echinoderms such as sea cucumbers, starfish, and jellyfish. They serve as alternative food source and also for pharmaceutical uses. Now let's move on to the habitat resources. This data came from Philippine Fisheries Profile 2021. Accordingly, na-divide ang habitat resources into two, the marine resources and inland resources. Under marine resources, we have total territorial water, including the EEZ, and shelf area, or the depth of 200 meter. Third, coral reef area, and fourth is the coastline, or the length of our coastline. First, total territorial water, a total of 2,200,000 square kilometer, including the EEZ na yun. Na-divide ang territorial water into two, the coastal and the oceanic. Sa coastal, we have a total of 266,000 square kilometer, while the oceanic is we have a total of 1,934,000 square kilometer. On the shelf area, or yung water is nalilimit into 200 meter depth, meron tayong total of 184,600 square kilometer. While on the coral reef area, kung saan present yung mga ating coral reefs, or na-measure ang depth ng water from 10 to 20 fathoms, ay merong total of 27,000 square kilometer. And yung length naman ng ating coastline is 36,289 square kilometer. That is the marine that is the habitat resources under the marine category. Let's move on to the inland resources. First, na-divide ang inland resources into swamplands, existing fish ponds, and other inland sources. Sa swamplands, a total of 246,063 hectares, na-divide siya into freshwater and brackish water. Sa freshwater, we have a total of 106,328 hectares. Sa brackish water, 139,735 hectares. The next is the existing ponds. So, na-divide din siya also into freshwater and brackish water. Meron siyang total of 253,333 hectares, and yung freshwater, merong 14,531 hectares. And then yung brackish water is 239,323 hectares. A total of 253,323 hectares. Next is the other inland sources. So, ang other inland sources ay na-divide siya into lakes, rivers, and reservoir. So, ang lakes ay merong 200,000 hectares. Rivers na mayroong 31,000 hectares. And reservoir na mayroong 19,000 hectares. So, a total of 250 hectares na nabilang sa other inland sources. So, next is, let's move on to the status of the fishing grounds in the Philippines. So, let's start with the sea. We have East Sulu Sea, West Sulu Sea, South Sulu Sea, Sibuyan Sea, Visayan Sea, Samar Sea, Camotes Sea, and the Bohol Sea. So sa East Sulu Sea has rich marine biodiversity, but recent data of specific fish stocks is limited. Sa West Sulu Sea naman it serves as a significant fishing grounds and contributes notably to the country's fisheries. South Sulu Sea is vital for commercial fisheries, particularly to species like tuna. And Sibuyan Sea, further studies are needed to assess the fish stock health and sustainability. Next is the Visayan Sea, is one of the most productive fishing grounds and experience overfishing. So itong Visayan Sea ang pinaka most productive, pero na-experience doon yung overfishing. Pero sa ngayon is meron ng mga conservation efforts na na-implement to allow stocks recovery. Next is the Samar Sea. It has faced significant degradation due to overfishing and destructive practices like dynamite fishing. Next is Camotes Sea. It needed further research to determine the health of its marine resources. So walang masyadong data and no information dito sa Camotes Sea. And Bohol Sea is a major fishing ground for tuna and sardines. However, it faces challenges such as overfishing and habitat degradation. So let's move on to the fishing grounds in the Philippines, specifically yung mga bays. So let's start with the Manila Bay. So Manila Bay experienced pollution, waste discharge, and oil spills causing degradation of water quality and marine habitats. Next is the San Miguel Bay, a major fishing ground with both commercial trawlers and small-scale fishermen. Decline in catch per effort due to increasing number of small-scale fishermen has been observed by the early 1970s. Sibugay Bay naman is one of the that belongs to Zamboanga Sibugay, to Region 9, is one of the Philippines' richest fish populations, supplying fish for approximately 330,000 residents. So, however, destructive fishing actions such as dynamite fishing and rapid destruction of mangroves have contributed to a drastic decline in the bay's fish population. However, on Lamon Bay, Tayabas Bay, Imuruan Bay, Tawi-Tawi Bay, Elana Bay, Butuan Bay, and Iligan Bay ay wala silang masyadong information on internet, kaya hindi ako nakapag-include ng mga current status nila dito sa report ko. So let's move on to the fishing grounds in Philippines, specifically sa mga Gulf. So let's start with Lingayen Gulf, has experienced significant declines in fish population due to excessive fishing pressure. Next is the Ragay Gulf, is among of the 6 and most significant sardine fisheries in the country. However, it has been reported as overfished. Next is the Acid Gulf, is one of the most important fishing grounds in the Bicol region. So also, wala ding masyadong data about the Acid Gulf. Next is the Panay Gulf. The data is limited but is recognized as a major fishing ground in the country. Moro Gulf is one of the most productive fishing grounds, contributing significantly to the country's marine fisheries. Davao Gulf is home to diverse marine species, including at least 10 of the species of toothed whales and dolphins, as well as whale sharks and sea cows. However, the area is reported to be overfished. So, yung Davao Gulf is home siya sa mga 10 species of toothed whales and dolphins, pati na mga whale sharks and sea cows. Pero yung Davao Gulf ay na-report as one of the overfished fishing grounds. Leyte Gulf, known for abundant catches of anchovies, herrings, shrimp, and crabs. So, fish harvests have declined due to dynamite fishing and typhoon damaging coral reef. Albay Gulf is one of the important fishing grounds in the Bicol region. And Lagunay Gulf is one of the important fishing grounds also in the Bicol region, but reported as overfished, indicating a decline in fish stocks as a result of overexploitation. Let's move on to the fishing grounds in the Philippines in terms or specifically in channels or passages. Let's start with the Babuyan Channel, or so it supports both Babuyan Channel supports both small-scale and commercial fisheries, serves as a passage for migratory fish species. Next is the Burias Pass. Overfishing and competition between local and commercial fishers ay ma-observe. So, merong competition between local and commercial fishers dito sa Burias Pass. So, most probably, yun yung dahilan kung bakit itong Burias Pass ay kabilang sa mga overfished na fishing grounds. Next is the Jintotolo Channel, acts as a migration route for fish between Sibuyan and Visayan Sea. So also overfished ang Jintotolo Channel. Next is the Masqueda Channel, serves as a fishing ground for local and Bicol region, supporting livelihoods with species like sardines and other small pelagics. Next is the Ticao Pass, faces threats from destructive fishing practices like dynamite fishing and coral reef degradation. Let's move on to the fishing grounds in the Philippines, specifically the Strait. So, let's start with the Strait. Mindoro Strait, recognized as a major fishing area, but a detailed study on its current status is limited. Iloilo Strait, it supports small-scale fisheries and artisanal fishing in Iloilo and Guimaras provinces. Cebu Strait faces overfishing, illegal fishing, and habitat destruction. Tabla Strait, known for abundant small pelagics such as anchovies and sardines. And next is the Tanyon Strait, one of the richest marine areas in the country, hosting coral reefs, marine mammals, and diverse fish species. It is declared MPA with measures like vessel monitoring system to combat illegal activities. Next category of fishing grounds in the Philippines is the lakes. So, let's start with the Laguna de Bay. So, it is the largest lake, contributing to local and national fish production of 80,000 to 90,000 metric tons annually. And the Taal Lake is among the country's major inland fisheries, known for the unique population of freshwater sardines, or the Sardinella tawilis, if I'm not mistaken. Next is the Naujan Lake, is a significant fishing ground in Mindoro. Detailed information on its current status is limited also. Buluan Lake, it has a high density of fishermen, so indicating significant fishing or magiging possible cause ito ng overfishing. And Bato Lake, information are not yet available, so walang information dito about sa Bato Lake. Buhay Lake is known for its rich biodiversity, including the smallest commercially harvested fish or the sinarapan. So itong sinarapan ang pinaka-smallest commercial fish. So next are the Lake Wood, Lake Dapao, Lake Lanao, and Lake Mainit are wala masyadong information or limited ang mga information about sa kanila. So let's move on to the issues and concerns affecting fisheries resources. So first we have the overfishing. So overfishing, depleting fish stocks, ecosystem imbalance, and reducing long-term yields. So ma-observe or ma-observe natin ang overfishing also here in Zamboanga Peninsula or Region 9, especially in Zamboanga City. So as we all know, Zamboanga City is known as the sardines capital of the Philippines due to its large-scale sardine fishing and processing industries, accounting for over 70% of the country's canned sardines. So I think at early 2010s ganon is doon nagsimula ang overfishing dito sa Zamboanga. So ang causes niyan ay too many commercial fishing boats operating near the coast, and then next is using of illegal fishing methods like small mesh nets that captured juvenile sardines before they could reproduce, and demand from sardine canning industry pressured fishers to catch more even during breeding season. So yan yung mga causes kung bakit nagkaroon ng overfishing here in Zamboanga Peninsula on the early 2010s. So next issue is the climate change. So it reduces habitat suitability and affects reproductive cycles. So for example, the coral bleaching and fish stock decline in the Philippines, specifically in Verde Island Passage sa pagitan ng Batangas and Mindoro. So in 2010 and 2016, severe coral bleaching events occurred due to elevated sea surface temperature. So nagkaroon ng coral bleaching because of high temperature in the water caused by El Nino and global warming. So bleach and dying coral reefs resulted in loss of fish habitats, leading to decline in reef fish abundance. So that is according to Licaunan et al. 2019, Status of Philippine and Coral Reefs 2018. So let's move on to the next issue and concerns, the habitat destruction. For example, the mangrove conversion to fish ponds in Panay Island, Philippines. So specific location, Panay Island, particularly in the province of Aklan, Capiz, and Iloilo. So between 1951 and 1988, approximately 279,000 hectares of mangroves were lost and in the Philippines, with about 50% of that ay naging aquaculture ponds according to SafeDec 1998. However, ngayon is mayroon na silang restoration efforts na in-implement. So restoration efforts have led to rehabilitation of over 900 hectares of abandoned fish ponds. So 900 hectares of abandoned fish ponds is kinonvert or naging mangrove forest ulit dito sa Pilipinas. So according to Zoological Society of London. Next issue in concern is the pollution. So for example, ito yung Manila Bay pollution. So specific location niya sa Manila Bay, bounded by Metro Manila, Cavite, Bataan, and Bulacan. So over the years, according to David 2008 and DENR 2019, Manila Bay has received industrial waste, untreated sewage, plastics, and agricultural runoff, which contribute to its degraded water quality. So according din to David 2008, hindi lang industrial waste or material waste ang nandun sa Manila Bay, kundi pati na rin ang high levels of coliform bacteria, heavy metals, and eutrophication, so or the algal bloom. So anong effect nito sa fisheries resources natin? Unang-una, decline in fish catch and species diversity have been documented due to deteriorated water quality according to David. So mababa na ang quality ng tubig doon sa Manila Bay, kaya bumababa ang fish population doon. Next is the fish and shellfish contamination from pollutants can pose public health. So we are all familiar with shellfish poisoning. So, somewhat similar dahil polluted ang water. So, pwedeng magkaroon ng public health risk or mga effects sa health ng tao according to BFAR 2023. Next is the IUU or illegal, unregistered, and unregulated fishing. So, for example, the Chinese IUU fishing in the West Philippine Sea. So, ang location is Scarborough Shoal or the Bajo de Masinloc, and also surrounding areas in the West Philippine Sea within the Philippines exclusive economic zone. So, according to Oceana and Greenpeace, Oceana Philippines and Greenpeace, yung mga Chinese doon sa West Philippine Sea ay nag-engage in unauthorized fishing inside the Philippine waters without permit. So, illegal yon. And then, unreported harvesting of high-value species like giant clams, sea turtles, and reef fish. So, kinukuha nila yung giant clams, mga sea turtles, and yung mga reef fish na pinagbabawal dito sa atin. And last na document is yung paggamit nila ng mga damaging gear, including propeller na kakasira sa coral reefs and cyanide fishing. So, this information is acquired from Greenpeace 2022 and Oceana Philippines 2021. Next is the effects of IUU fishing in our water. So, unang-una is the depletion of marine species, especially the reef-associated fish. Next is the destruction of coral reefs, which are critical for fish habitats, caused by giant clam harvesting and anchor damage. And next is the reduced catch for Filipino municipal fishers who rely on nearshore and offshore reefs according to BFAR 2023. So let's move on to the fisheries management scheme. Unang-una, we have the total allowable catch or the TAC and quotas. So these are limits for species, so for specifically like the Sardinella species in Zamboanga Peninsula. So dito sa Zamboanga Peninsula, we have an annual average sardine production of 300,000 to 400,000 metric tons per year according to BFAR and PSA data. So with this data, ang NFRDI ay nakapag-estimate ng total allowable catch recommendation based on MSY. So around 150,000 to 250,000 metric tons is recommended for sustainability. That is according to the studies of NFRDI. So itong total allowable catch is, ma-insert ko lang, is wala silang specific value na dinidisclose for public or pinapublish nila for public, because nag-change ito annually based on MSY or yung mga fish stock assessment nila. Next is the gear restriction. It prevents overfishing through mesh size regulation and prohibition of destructive gear. So we have fine mesh nets or under the Fisheries Administrative Order number 223. So minimum size regulation. So ito yung paggamit ng nets with a minimum mesh size of 3 cm is required. So minimum of 3 cm. So walang bababa sa 3 cm yung mesh size para ma-avoid ang paghuli ng mga juvenile sardines. So this is enforced under BFAR Administrative Order or NFAO, which supports sustainable fishing practices. So next gear restriction is the ban on destructive fishing gear. So for example, the hulbot or the Danish seine and active trolls are prohibited in municipal waters. So this is reinforced by local ordinance in cities like Zamboanga and nearly province like Zamboanga, Sibugay to prevent habitat destruction and juvenile fish capture. So ito kasi mga destructive fishing gears is nakakasira sila ng mga habitat. So pinagbabawal sila. Next fisheries management scheme is the MPAs or the Marine Protected Area. So these are designated area in marine environment where human activity is regulated or restricted to protect the natural biodiversity and ecosystem. So for example, the Sumilon Island Marine Sanctuary, if I'm not mistaken, this is the very first MPA here in the Philippines, if I'm not mistaken, in year 1974. So all fishing practices were halted for about 10 years. So pinahinto ang mga fishing practices or fishing activity dito sa Sumilon Island for 10 years. And nag-result siya ng ang pagtaas ng catch sa labas ng Sumilon Island. So tumaas ang catch on the surrounding area of Sumilon Island from about 14 ton per kilometer square to almost 36 ton per kilometer square according to RAS and Alcala 1996. So that is the effect or the impact of Sumilon Island Marine Sanctuary on its surrounding water. Next, I will give one example here in Zamboanga City, which is the Great and Little Santa Cruz Island Protected Landscape and Seascape. So dyan yan sa harap ng Paseo. So that is also one of the MPAs here in Region 9. So let's move on to the next fisheries management scheme, which is the licensing and effort control. So licensing limits the number of fishers and fishing vessels, ensuring compliance with regulation, and effort controls prevent overfishing through restriction on fishing hours and gear type. So licensing and effort control in commercial sardine fishing. So this is an example of licensing and effort controls, specifically here in Zamboanga Peninsula or Region 9. So here in Region 9, all commercial fishing vessels operating in the area are required to be registered and licensed by the BFAR, and also they are required to install vessel monitoring system to ensure compliance with area and season restriction. So bakit kailangan nila ng vessel monitoring system? That is because naka-indicate sa kanilang mga license and registration kung saan FMA sila pwedeng pumunta for fishing. So kapag nilabag nila yon, is madedetect doon sa vessel monitoring system kung nakalagpas or nakalabas ba sila ng FMA. For example, FMA 4 ay nakapunta sila ng FMA 3. So madedetect yon ng BFAR. So that is according to Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources 2020. Next fisheries management scheme is the subsidies and incentives for sustainable practices. So it helps fishers transition to more sustainable fishing practices. So in-include ko dito yung na-observe ko last time, yung fuel subsidies. So implemented to assist fishers and farmers. They receive fuel assistance or discount cards worth 3,000 each to lessen the financial burden during crisis. So if you remember, nagkaroon tayo ng crisis or sobrang taas ng presyo ng gasolina last time. So itong project or subsidy na binigay ng BFAR is malaking tulong para sa ating mga farmers and fishers para mapagaan yung kanilang mga problema sa financial. Next, subsidies or incentive support is the livelihood support. So fishers and workers affected by the closed seasons are given temporary alternative livelihood projects such as the post-harvest value-adding seminars. So itong mga livelihood support na to is nagagawa through the BFAR 9 in collaboration with LGUs and the SWD. So doon naman sa aming province or the Zamboanga Sibugay province, na-observe ko yung aquasilviculture and seaweed farming support. So fishers dependent on municipal fishing receive inputs for alternative sustainable practices such as seaweed farm starter kits and the fish cage starter kits. So yung family ko is nakatanggap kami ng seaweed farm starter kits. So it composed of boya and mga dalawang rolyo ng ropes. And with that, let's move on to the seasonal fishing closure as a part of the fisheries management scheme. So fishing closure or seasonal fishing closure is designed to protect fish stocks during critical periods such as breeding or spawning seasons. So according to na-search ko, Manila Bulletin 2024, the BFAR declared November 15, 2024 to February 15, 2025 as closed season for sardines in Zamboanga Peninsula. So ito yung mga lately na na-observe natin na close season. So ito yung pinaka-latest na close season, yung dates ng close season. So ang close season ay nagmamatter siya sa development of development ng gonads ng fish. Kaya if you observe dito sa picture is this is way back 2022 yung mga data nito. So before 2022, December 1 to March 1 ang close season for sardines here in Zamboanga Peninsula. Meanwhile, last year is na-move siya to November 15 to February 15. So because na-observe ng mga researchers natin from BFAR na ini-study nila yung development of gonads or yung eggs ng sardines natin if they are mature or ready to hatch na. Kaya kapag ready to hatch na or mature na, saka pa sila nagde-declare ng close season para ma-preserve or ma-conserve natin yung eggs and mapalaki pa yung mga sardines before ma-harvest. So with this, kung titingnan is meron tayong 5 places here in the Philippines na merong target species, economically important species na kino-conserve. Here sa atin sa Zamboanga Peninsula is the conservation of marines under BFAR Administrative Order number 255 series of 2014. Here banda sa Mindanao, dito sa baba ng Mindanao is the Joint Department of Agriculture and DILG Administrative Order number 2 series of 2014, the conservation of small pelagic species. Next, here in somewhere in Visayas is this conservation of sardines, herring, and mackerel under the Fisheries Administrative Order 1673 series of 2013. And somewhere in Palawan, the joint the DILG Administrative Order number 1 series of 2015, the conservation of ramscad. And here naman sa Luzon is we have the conservation of ludong or the president's fish na sinabi ni Ma'am Alain last time under the Fisheries Administrative Order 31 series of 1952. So itong data na to is hindi siya mostly accurate, lalong-lalo na sa mga date, pero important yung administrative order dito and yung mga species, economically important species na kino-conserve. So with that, thank you so much for listening. Here are my references in my report. And thank you. New learnings na naman. Good night.